Good morning, everyone. This is Ron. It's about 3 minutes after 11, so we'll go ahead and get started this morning. Um, I could not make it yesterday, and I understood you had a very good discussion. I have not had time to listen to it, however, and but it sounded very interesting. So, is there anybody who want to recap or talk about some of the things, mention some of the things that you may have discussed on yesterday? And if not, that's okay. We'll just see if there are any questions. Uh, but if somebody wanted to can remember enough to recap some of it anyway.
Good morning, Ron.
Okay.
This is George. Philly, as you mentioned, I think there was a lot, that was discussed yesterday, but some of the things that were really um, pleasing to my ear to hear in reference to our desire to seek truth and our desire to be aware, of our history, the desire to be aware of the scriptures in terms of just being able to dissect it from from a linguistic standpoint, and I think Pastor kind of reverted to it in terms of just being able to appreciate that which we do desire may not all manifest right at the same time, but if we can continue to seek the truth, if we can continue to seek
Hmm.
that which we desire, that will manifest. So it's like, anything that we do, we have the desire, to want to know, but again, if it doesn't quite manifest right at that moment, just be consistent, just stick with it, and those things will come to our intuition at that point. And then another thing, that Pastor, mentioned about was the importance of wisdom. And I know that Nick referred to the Kabbalion, which I thought it was something that I would definitely like to hear more about. But again, just trying to appreciate the journey that we on, Ron. I mean, that's some
Okay.
things I got yesterday. I'm done.
Thank you, George. Thank you. Yeah, you're right about that desire. That to me is everything, and that sort of determines uh, to me, as we witness ourselves, we can see and feel our levels of awareness, our consciousness changing. Just the uh, studying and recognizing that the scriptures are not about God, it's about man, and to see ourselves in those words and be able to make the distinctions of what is good for us, and even see yourself in certain scriptures, and recognize that this is reason why I think this way, or this is how I think, or this is what to see yourself to me is not just amazing. It is a conscious uh, raising opportunity, and those things are can be a little fascinating to me, and eye opening as well. Uh, anyone else? Did anyone else see anything from yesterday?
Good morning.
George, what did good morning. Good morning. I just want to ask you, George, what did you say that Nick introduced? Was it another tribe or something? He introduced. Say that part again. I missed that. George, are you there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ron. Yeah, I think that what Nick mentioned that I caught was he's mentioned the word Kabbalion, and that
Okay.
was of interest to me. And as I kind of looked at that, it talked about the immortal wisdom of the wise, and I think that in our desire to seek wisdom, it was just something that I made a little note on in terms of just maybe expounding more upon that, or at the same time again, that's what I believe you were asking me. I'm done.
Yeah, yeah. That found a bit interesting to me. So yeah, I'm like you. I like to either for him or maybe I'll research it myself. But I sounds interesting. Sounds interesting. Is there anyone else, Pastor? I know you're on. We're just seeing. We were kind of seeing is there anything interesting said yesterday that anybody remember or want to expound upon, or even see if we have any questions before we move forward. Questions or comments. That's where we were.
Okay. Clarify something.
Yes, sir.
We have been talking about intellect and spirituality, and I don't believe that I was clear at all when we talked about that because of the way I presented intellect as a dichotomy to spirituality. I didn't say it that way, but that's what was, I suppose, taken from that or intimated. I intimated it. When I speak of intellect, what should have said is that I'm speaking of intellect in the way that it has been defined and how it has been used to as a weapon of dehumanization, as opposed to spirituality. And I'm talking about it based upon the way it was defined, and I get that definition. I got it from the understanding of Plato's Republic. So I do apologize for not being as clear as I should have been. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about that?
Hey,
Not about,
oh,
good morning. Not about that, but in general, I have sort of a question comment put together. We talked about the Dogon and how they knew certain things about the universe. So my question is, what does that mean for us spiritually in terms of how we connect to the universe? And I know the short answer to that, but I'd like to hear some elaboration on that, if you would. Thank you.
I believe that one of the reasons we have entered this discussion on the Dogon is to show us an example of who we were created to be in terms of being one with the universe. Also, I believe that we are going to look deeper into who the Dogon are and their practices. And at some point, whoever researches it and finds it will be giving us and helping us rather to see the approach that we need to take in order for us to pull out of us that oneness with the universe. I know the desire is there, but the how-to, I'm not clear on the how-to yet, but maybe somebody else is, and if you are, I would appreciate it if you would respond and elaborate on it.
Good morning, everyone. Reb and the rest of us, I hope I can answer your question. One of the things I make an attempt to do is separate myself from my paycheck. And what I mean by that is if my zip, my personality, or my swag is predicated upon a paycheck, I really don't have any personality. If my knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of what little I know is predicated upon a paycheck, really don't know too much. And it's the same thing with truth. if your truth is close to your paycheck, or if my truth, I should say, is close to my paycheck, I'm gonna have a not so good vision of it. So I think that's by design. That um, I just think it's by design by the Catholic Church of you're going to be a slave to your paycheck, and this is going to affect how you maneuver, and it can happen in simple ways. If a male is trying to woo or court a female, if it's based upon his money, he's going to struggle. So that's one of the things that I try to implement is um, keep as much equity between myself and a paycheck. And I admire the teachers at Greater New Faith. Your truth and your paycheck, there's a great deal of distance and equity between it. Um, and in giving you all a compliment on that, that doesn't mean I agree with everything you say. But I hope that just answers the question. Thank you.
George, let me ask you this. When you say distance between paycheck and truth, are you saying that you don't adjust what truth is based upon whether or not you're going to get paid? Is that what you're saying?
Reb, I don't really even.
Let me put
Could
it
you
another,
break?
let me put
What's
it,
that again?
Let me put it another way. Are you saying that my being a pastor / preacher, whatever, is if my teachings or my preaching is to get a paycheck and not because of the depth of my belief and dedication, then that's a problem?
The second one, yes, Reverend Reggie. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, I got you.
And I will say this for all of the teachers at Greater New Faith, and I only say Greater New Faith because that's where my experience is. Y'all excitement to give a lesson is the same whether 50 cents is in the collection plate or 2 million is in the collection plate. Just to give a lesson. So that's what I mean by that, Reb. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And I can vouch for all the teachers, the Great New Faith Foundation, any of the teachers that we facilitate. All of us have the same desires when it comes to what you're saying, George. None of us literally based our personality or who we are on a paycheck, and definitely we don't base it on. It's not predicated on us being paid for anything, because quite frankly, everything we have done in terms of our travel, in terms of our sessions that we've had in Philadelphia, we are thankful that we had the means to do it. And if we didn't, we know that someone within the confines of our circle are going to make sure that we are able to do it, because we see ourselves as being one body. We are one body, because if we don't see ourselves as being one, then how can we have an expectation that we can have a deep desire for humanity to be one? So, and I'm extremely grateful to the Creator for the way that He has pulled us together. And a lot of times I'm very hesitant about saying we, the teachers, because I do not want to give anyone a sense of separation from us or being different from us. And one of the examples of that is this. I think it's a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a week, I don't know. Amir read a scripture from Titus. I couldn't shake it, and that's one of the directions I look to go in. If not today, then the next time we're together. So what am I saying in regards to that? Every one of us has a seed that will bring about an understanding of the scriptures. Every one of us have the opportunity to raise questions or make statements, which means that we are teaching. So all of us have opportunity to feed into our desires for the unicity of humanity. If there are questions about that or comments, please state that now. I'm good. I'm done.
Thank you, Alex. Questions?
I would like to respond, to something that Audrey mentioned in reference to a little bit, maybe more substance in reference to the Dogon. And I know that it's something that we had, brought up in terms of, researching or investigating or looking at it. And I think that initially I was just really, interested in the creation story of the Dogon and how it related to the creation of the biblical story in the Bible, along with other creations. And I know Pastor mentioned that, various cultures had creation stories, but what was of interest about the Dogon was, again, in terms of their, spirituality, in terms of the Sirius, and then at the same time looking at it from educational mythology in terms of their higher order of thinking, looking at it from their intellectual growth and their grades of consciousness. And I wanted to say, Pastor, I truly appreciate, when you talk about, the intellectual, because in my spirit, I was not looking at it in terms of ego or in terms of pride or in terms of how Western society, saw that, type of manifestation, but in terms of the truth and the spirit of nature and creation, giving it to us from the galactic family. And so in those areas of desire, they talked about their geography, they talked about, their history, and it related to the constellations. So I think that there's just more there that, again, I have a desire, to know in terms of how it relates to spirituality and then looking at it from the scriptures. So again, I think there's just so much from a astronomical perspective, so much, from their way that they were able to, again, receive from nature. So I don't know if that helps out a little bit in terms of the question that you asked, Audrey, but I do, concur with you that I think spiritually, to grasp that, spiritual understanding, because I truly believe it relates to the Bible in that way of how this information, was learned, or more importantly, how it may have, got it twisted up, as you may have mentioned, yesterday. And I think to be able to appreciate what their pathway of spiritual enlightenment was is something that, I believe I am and we all are trying to have a better understanding of. If there's any questions, Audrey, please, but I just wanted to share those thoughts. I'm done.
Sure.
Go ahead, Pastor. I'm sorry.
Some clicked when George was talking in reference to Audrey's question. The Dogon, if we look at the Dogon, what we see is that their material world consisted of nature, period. They were one with nature. And Audrey and to others, I believe that the journey to do or to be as they are, one with the universe, is not allowing the distractions to remove us from this, not remove us, but cause us to, at times, to lose sight of the journey, which means that, I guess what I'm trying to say is, keep things at bay. And things are just that, things. They are not who define us. They are not the things that we go all out our way to seek or to go after or to acquire. Our focus is to desire to be one with the universe. And if we, in my own mind, which is probably not that much, but I see it as recognizing within us that we have been subject to believing that things are what we should acquire because we are supposed to be, based on our parents, better than they were in the generation after us, and on and on and on. Our better desire for the next generation to be better than we are is based upon them knowing who they are. And generationally speaking, we were told we have to be better because there was a sense of having to fit into the society as opposed to changing the mentality of it. Does that make sense, Ms. Audrey?
Yes, and I think I'm seeing it better based on what you and George have been saying. And I think it's partly that, they didn't have to worry about a paycheck or whatever. They didn't have to worry about material things, I wouldn't imagine. What they had to worry about was being in sync with nature, and just being. And I think they had a great opportunity to just be, to be in sync with the Creator, to be in sync with nature. Whereas right now we all have we have a paradox of dualities because we serve in so many roles that, take our focus away from just being, because we need to do this or that, or we need to, produce this or produce that, or we need to whatever. So, I think for them, it was just being, which is what we're trying to do.
Right. I mean, when you think about it, the Dogon dealt with basic survival. How do you survive in an environment such as that? You have to understand how nature functions. You have to know where the food is. You have to know which plants are poisonous and which ones are not. We don't deal with that. We don't even walk in the grass anymore barefooted. I can't stand the feel of the grass under my feet. We have gotten to that place, and it may sound simple, but the walking in the grass without shoes grounds you, and leather is not a conductor of energy, so it separates you from the energy of the earth when you are walking through grass with shoes on. So again, that's the simplicity of that life. And as Audrey said, we have to work at making our life simple, bringing that simplicity back into our lives in order to be grounded. We look for a checklist, and there is no checklist. It's simply a desire. And when we hear the simple things we can do, like walking in the grass or hugging a tree or sitting on the bench near the water or something like that, let's embrace that and make it a part of our journey so that we begin to grow exponentially, to understand what it feels like and what it looks like to be one with nature. Thank you. Our universe. Thank you.
This is Ron. I guess my question was sort of along with Audrey's, is because I have thought, why were the Dogons chosen? What was special about them? And one of the things that, as you have already stated, was the simplicity of their lives. I see that. I see them being one with nature, which was extremely important. But at the same time, they were not the only ones. So what was different about the Dogon? In looking at that, a lot of things crossed my mind. One of them being, what if they really were not or are not from the earth? I read something that said that they originated in what is now known as Egypt, region of the world. And if that is the case, maybe polar-wise, as far as electricity or the energy in that energy field in that area, maybe there's something different about it. I don't know. But what if they were a people that were wanted the earth, but they didn't worry so much about survival? Is to be in detailed about some of the things that it said. I don't picture a people who worry so much about where the next meal comes from. I think it was so much one with the earth that they recognized that what they give were going to receive. So the energy that they brought to the earth or gave to the earth made it clear that they.
Would you make sure that your phones are? Thank you. Go ahead, Ron.
I think it. Yeah, I think the energy that they gave or brought to the earth made it clear to them that the earth would take care of them as well. So can it be that the spirit of the Dogon or the spirit that we have received or others like us, maybe even throughout the years, where the substance of who you are and what the paycheck looks like, how much money or the status, none of that is important. Being one with nature and being one with the earth, you recognize that you are here and the earth will maintain and take care of you as long as you're searching for truth. And that spirit is what leads and connects you to what is spiritual and what is universal. So that level of awareness that they had is offered because that has been connected with the consciousness of the earth, and it has been left dormant for whoever wanted to receive it. So in not looking at them as physical beings, but as spiritual beings, what if that is the same spirit that has encaptured us and has led us to seek out what they knew and what would take us to a different or a higher place, for lack of a better way to express it.
Ron, and the others, of course, I believe that the Dogon was isolated for this very purpose. After the Mali Empire fell, they moved to a different place. They migrated into the mountainous area. But I believe that they are where they are by divine design, and I believe that they are there for the purpose of us understanding. However, I also don't think that they even gave any thought to survival, because they knew that there was a greater, quote unquote, spiritual essence than them. They knew that something brought them into existence, and they trusted that same energy that brought them into existence was taking care of them, not obligated. They didn't think that way. I don't think they thought that well, if we do this, then we're going to be okay. They just did what they felt in their hearts to do. And by doing that, they were able to survive. And their survival is paramount to these physical entities in this earth called man, woman, called people. They are paramount to us learning, us being aware of what it looks like to be a human. If they were not purposely isolated, everything they had would have been destroyed, because they were not the only ones who understood the celestial movements. They were not the only ones. Yet, so many of those who were aware are gone because they got swallowed up into a system. And there's a high probability, I should say, of others who think and function the same way in areas that have not been disturbed by this outside world. So again, they just did not get swallowed up into a system that indoctrinated them to believe that they are simply superstitious and none of the stuff they're talking about is real. Even though the people who are saying that recognize how detailed they are when they talk about the star systems. Thank you. Ron, if you're talking, we can't.
No, I wasn't. Go ahead. I was just thinking.
I was just thinking, Ron, that when you were talking that we don't fully know the Dogon story, but we do know that we are as African people, or being settled in Africa, we are definitely influenced by them, and we are their inheritors. So we don't have to try as hard as we think we need to try. We just need to realize, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Just realize who we are.
I agree with that.
Yes, wholeheartedly. Yes. The simplicity of that. Well, let me say this one thing, George, and it kind of the simplicity. What if we could see the creation story as a beginning or a blueprint for us to go back to whatever beginning is necessary for us to go back to recreate whatever needs to be recreated, and what if they are just another layer of showing us, giving us that vision of showing us that in a more pure state, whereas, as Audrey said, you're trying too hard. Just relax, and it's more simple than you think. As we talked about our desires here. An example was there was a section that I read that said the Dogons believed that there were various spirits that populated themselves in the trees and in the bushes and in uninhabited places. And those spirits were both that of evil and of loving kindness. Those spirits were. So when I look at that, and look at compare it to something that the sages said in one of the Kabbalah books that I have. What it explains is goodness and evilness is all around us and is there for a purpose. So the goodness and evil is to one, either teach you a lesson or to bring you into a new place of awareness. So if you are at a place of awareness, or if you are at a place of maturity or feeling loving kindness, then this further enhances it. But if you're not feeling that and you're at a place of feeling whatever you're feeling, and the evilness comes upon you, it is the ripeness that you're already feeling, and it is to ripen you. It is not to punish you. It is to bring you to a place. So maybe looking at it from the Dogon's perspective, they're saying the same thing, but they just didn't explain it in such a way. So it to me points to us that we have an opportunity in what we're learning. And that opportunity is to show us that things are not what we have always been taught they were. Things are simple as being one with nature, as simple as walking barefooted in the grass, as simple as getting up in the early morning and feeling the breeze on your face. So the Dogons, I would say, is maybe a way of taking us back to our beginning as Africans.
Hey, think about this. George Washington Carver attributed everything he did to his early morning walks. The listening to birds and the breeze in the trees, just feeling the breath around him. He attributed all of that to his inventions. So I think that that's what tantamount to what the Dogon are expressing when they talk about what they know and understand about nature. And I just thought about it, George. I stepped all over you. What your responding after Ron finished. Sorry about that.
Pastor, that's fine. I think that it all is, what, we're receiving in terms of what we're discussing. And I just wanted to, just share when we talked about consciousness and, looking at those stages that the Dogons were able to develop when they talked about unconsciousness, simple consciousness, self-consciousness, and I think, one of the most important is that cosmic consciousness, it related to their characteristics in terms of how they lived. And so, as you mentioned, they didn't have a loss of fear of death. You know what I mean? It wasn't the clutter, that we're caught up, as RV mentioned earlier, in terms of what distracts us from what we want to do. But I think that being able to appreciate characteristics of consciousness is that sense of external existence. You know what I mean? Being able to, appreciate the moral exaltation when we talk about the pathway, to Maya, or looking at the intellectual illumination, when we talk about the spirit, us just being being not obedient, but being sensitive in terms of what nature is teaching us. And I want to, just share these other three thoughts because I think that we have examples of, characteristics of consciousness when we think about Dr. Martin Luther King, and I'll relate to that in a minute. But it talked about the sudden and instant increase in terms of mental awareness. We talk about the physical plane, the soul plane, and the mental plane, but I think in all of that, when we look at astrology, it gives us, some understanding in terms of just cosmic consciousness, with the universe. And speaking of, prophetic stimulation of the personal aura, I think that we've talked about what is a prophet, and in our understanding of what a prophet is, as far as what we were taught in terms of the fivefold ministry, we begin to realize that that prophet was that historian, or was that griot, that person that, intuitive instinct, we, are able to, know that we know that we know. And, last was that, spiritual transmutation. I'm just sharing, this, the characteristics of consciousness, because this is, again, what I think the Dogons were able to develop and were able to create based on their interaction with the cosmos. And I'm done. I just wanted to share those thoughts. Hopefully that resonates. I'm done.
All right. Suppose for a moment that we are not, excuse me, that the Dogon are Elohim. That's what Elohim looks like, having a physical experience. Suppose that's what that's the example that they are presenting to us. They're not just historical figures with knowledge of the universe and the celestial bodies in the universe. They are Elohim. And that's our example, or that's the energy that is produced when you are totally embracing the essence of Elohim. How is it that George Washington Carver did not allow the distractions in his life to come between him and what he was seeing or what he was being shown by the universe to bring into physical existence in this earth for the benefit of humanity? And suppose that the only history that is not spiritual is the history that lies. Suppose that all of the history that's truth is also spiritual and is just as important as the scriptures are. As a matter of fact, in some cases, more important, because the translations of the scriptures are not always truth. They are translated because they're beneficial. In a way, rather, that they benefit a group of people as opposed to the truth. So I know there's a lot of supposition. Suppose all that is true. What do you guys think about that?
Well, one thing that I've come to grips with when you talk about indigenous people, the one investment that they did make was always in family. And when you look at the African American that was in the Depression era in the 20s, and that's just slightly removed from slavery, they invested in family. So that's why the African American didn't need welfare. Welfare was not American. That was for Europe. They needed it. So one of the things that if we're not buying into it, we need to buy into it real quick, and that may not be the best word to buy into. Your investment is always your family and who's to come after you. Is Fidelity in 401k? Is that an investment? Of course it is. I just think money done messed the game up. Well, I'm not gonna say it's messed the game up. I think money has turned everything into a game. So if with indigenous people, with Native Americans, with the people from Kush, Ethiopia, Baghdad, Turkey, a Cabelon, or Africa, their investment has always been family. And in my era, if you're born in 1970, 1971, our investment is Playa del Carmen, Nassau, Bahamas. We don't make an investment in family where a child has a talent for something that can eat at college tuition. That could be the violin, it could be a brass wind instrument, a woodwind, a piano, dancing, cheerleading, athletics. From the 4th grade to the 12th grade, we'll be in Nassau, Bahamas, Playa del Carmen. We won't even take a third of that money and to give to that child for that child to have the best tutor for the trumpeter. You will hear us in conversation. Education costs. You ain't know education costs, and you got a master's degree. So
George, let me ask you something.
Yeah.
When you talked about 20s in investment in family, and then you talked about the cost of education and the money that needs to be invested or saved or whatever for education. I don't deny that at all. However, I do believe that it's not the money that's the problem. It's the love of the money that's the problem. It's the affection that we have developed for money that's the problem. Money is neutral in this life. The energy that you attach to it is what determines what it can do or what it does. When you trust who you are without even knowing you trust who you are. For example, when I left to go to college, of course I had a scholarship, but that wasn't all. When I left, my parents were not like a lot of parents. They had nothing to give me other than trust, have your trust in God. When you feel that you're down and out, read the 27th Psalm, and I guarantee you that God will take care of you. Their sincerity in that is what got me through. Why? I didn't buy into it as much as I believed it. And that's what brought me through. Even when there were times that I had nothing to sustain me, that psalm stuck with me. And the voice of my grandmama and my mom telling me, you are going to be okay. You're strong. That got me through. Now, when I came into ministry, I talked with Reverend Hawkins about it prior to my yielding. And he said to me, that's between you and God. So when I went into ministry, offered the church, one was offering me at that time a great salary, and the other one offered me poor salary. And he said to me, the decision that you have to make is whether or not you want something ready-made for you or whether you want to build something. You have to make a decision based upon what's in your heart, not what's in your pocketbook. And I chose the one that could not pay me the way the other one could. What am I saying to you, George? What am I saying to all of us? I am saying that during my period during the period I went through all of this, the thing that sustained me was not money, it was faith. And that faith was undergirded by people around me, from college to ministry to where we are now. Even through the first pastorate, first church I had, it was those who were around me assisted me in sustaining the faith that I had. And now, because of that, I am at a place of not so much of having confidence in terms of waiting for something to happen. I know who I am, and I know that the Elohim created me to be Elohim. I know that. I don't doubt that at all. However, I would not have had any of that if it had not been for faith. If it had not been for the words, people who believed the scriptures in the way they had been taught. There was something added to that. And that something is this. We trusted what we were taught. We had a divine desire to understand what we were taught and to hold on to it. The leadership who taught us that didn't make efforts to understand further than what they were told. But that sustained us. And it sustains people to this day. And that's why James talked about the things that are the consequences of being an inept teacher, because of the responsibility of it. So I say all of this to say to every single one of us, faith takes you to a place of knowing. And knowing takes you to a place of peace. Not being awake at night because you're enumerating what you don't have. It may keep you awake because you're being grateful for what you do have. Thank you. And I hope that's clear.
I saw something in part of what you were saying. I remember reading about something. You guys know these stories too. When a boy either reaches, I think, the age of 12, maybe 13, he is given some weapons, and the young men are put out in the forest, and they are to be hunter-gatherers, and they're out there until they come back into the village with some nourishment for the village or the families. And that being out there not only strengthens the young boy, it strengthens the village because they know that there is someone that we can count on, and there is a new generation that will provide, and we don't have to worry about our sons and daughters because of the strength that we see in our future. That young man builds confidence. He sees himself no longer as a boy, but a man. And he recognizes, too, that I am a provider. And one day I will help be the covering or help protect my family. And that was in those villages and in those things time happened with indigenous people of not just one region, but it was a common thing. So, but it was also mainly shaped by masculinity. What I heard Pastor say was mainly, a lot of it is just he and I talking, but his grandmother sent him out to do what he had to do. and that was a different type of shaping. She was helping create a different type of warrior, a different type of covering, and being a female, maybe that type of warrior was shaping the spiritual balance for what we do now. Uh, Knowing that there is someone who will provide, and the nourishment is not just a physical thing. If you, Audrey and Pastor talked about the distractions. If you see it as just physical provisions, then that is the distraction. The spiritual part of it is she handed him off to another person. Well, I hope you don't mind me talking about it. Reverend Hawkins, who he talks about. But that what maybe why we're so balanced and why we are trying so hard to bring balance into the earth. So I see all of this as, again, reaching back to the energy of the Dogons, and it is that gateway that has been spoken of in the last few weeks that is open with energy. We are to take advantage of that, and that's a wrong word, I guess, take advantage, but use it as an opportunity to gather all that we can for the betterment of mankind. So those trivial things that we look back on in life and say, you know, this is what happened to me, this is my history. I call them trivial because we don't think that much of them are extremely important, and they have shaped not only us, but helped shape the destiny of mankind as we use those same tools and lessons learned to walk into who we are now. Suppose that's what was taking place, and maybe each and every one of us has our own experiences that we may have even forgotten about, such as that. Does that make sense?
Does to me.
Yes, sir.
Pastor says, and I thought was extremely interesting, the Dogons being Elohim. We didn't say anything about that. If we believe what we see in the scriptures and the experience of, that would have to be the case. And in a very simplistic way, we are talking about a people who were not concerned with the garments that they wore. It seemed like, from what I read, the only earthly thing that was of importance to them is being near water. That's the only thing I could find that spoke of earthly things. The rest of it was extremely kind of different than what you see when you read about certain people like that. So I just think that's interesting. They would have to be Elohim. Wouldn't you agree? In a very simple form, and maybe if once we get past the distractions that we all have in our own way, we'll see the simplicity of this all as well. Thoughts or questions, y'all?
I agree with you. Someone about to speak?
Yeah, I have a question. You guys have been teaching, the teachers have been teaching to just be. I guess some of the things that the Dogons, their lifestyle, just to be and to be in touch with nature. So I believe that we're basically on the same track. It's just that there are some things that may have been doing that we haven't gotten to yet, but I do believe that you guys have laid the foundation. I'm not sure, but just from listening to what everybody is saying, as far as what they did and by what you guys have been teaching us, the facilitators, it kind of seemed like we're on the right road. That's all I wanted to say.
I would agree with you. I sit back yesterday. We had a mini family reunion yesterday. We had a death in the family, and it turned out to be a beautiful thing. Just to listen to her life, doing the things that people said about her, and the kind of I learned more about her than I have my whole life. But even the coming together afterwards and sitting and talking and eating, and it was beautiful. And to sit there and just watch and feel the spirit of it all, was to me what life is all about, and what should have or could have been a sad occasion rather turned out to be something truly beautiful. But it too made me think, as a lot of things do now, to look at where we are as a people, and not just my little immediate family, my little handful of people, but to listen to them talk about their relationship with God, and the things they believe in and teach their children, and a lot of it, knowing some of the pastors I don't necessarily agree with, but what I really fell in love with their sincerity. And so when we talk about us, it showed me a real connection to us as a people. There are a group of us, I think, who have, like Abraham, left the farm and seeking other lands that the Creator is going to show us, but it was for the betterment of those we left behind. And I just felt a real connection to them yesterday, those that I saw and knew, and even some that I agree with them. I think once we open our eye and see, it shows us all the time that we're on the right track. And with this journey, it's worth the travel. We okay? Everybody still with us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick, weren't you going to say something earlier?
Oh, I think it's either already been said or I forgot.
Okay.
Is there anyone else?
Maybe we're at that place of contemplation, right?
Okay.
I will
Well,
ask him.
I'm sorry.
Would you look at Titus 1, 15 and 16? That's to everyone. Because at some point, I want to talk about that part. Go ahead, Ron.
Repeat the scripture again, Sage, please.
Titus 1, 15 and 16.
Thank you.
Those are the verses that Amir read, I think, a couple of weeks ago.
I was just going to ask you that. Did you want to go ahead and go there? We've been at it about an hour. Did you want to go ahead and talk about that for a minute. So yeah.
What do you guys think? Let me try to feel for consensus. Or do you want to wait until we come back together again? And please don't be silent on this question.
This is Vermel. I'd like to read it first.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. We'll read it first. I'm done, Ron.
Okay. What does she mean? Is somebody going to read it out loud, or you're saying you rather read it and come back? Is that what we're saying?
I'd like to read it and come back to it.
Okay. Okay. That sounds great. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Before we go, this is Jackie. Excuse me. Before we go, I just have a question. The scripture that, and I know I'm paraphrasing, the scripture that says, "You will exchange the truth for a lie." That has been heavy on my mind, but I just don't know the scripture. Could you tell me where it is? Because it seems to be a lot of that is going on. I don't know what's going on with my voice. But anyways, could you tell me where to find that? Thank you.
Kathy, are you on?
I am. And I've dealt with that shit quite a bit.
You and Kathy.
It's Romans 125.
Romans, yeah, I believe
Thank you, Google.
Romans.
Thank you.
Romans what?
125.
Romans
1 and 25.
125. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else? Anything else? Jackie, you good?
I am. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Well, if we don't have any other questions or comments, let's call it a day and reconvene tomorrow afternoon at 6 p.m. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and look forward to speaking with you again tomorrow afternoon. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Hey, Ron.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow's a holiday, so we're still doing it tomorrow.
I think we said yesterday that we weren't meeting tomorrow.
We were not. Okay. I forget. You're right. Okay. Well, we'll meet again next Saturday at 10 a.m. Okay. Hope everybody enjoys the week.
Thank you.